Hello, Ken Spriggs here with an unboxing and review of my brand new Elegoo Jupiter 3D printer. I've been looking at this for a little while. It's been out for at least 6 months now, I think. My previous one is a Saturn, and I also have the Mars, the smallest one, which is what I started with. I was going to be waiting till next year to get one, but then they went ahead and had an early Black Friday sale, which everybody seems to be doing. So it was considerably discounted, which was awesome. So I went ahead and bought it, and it came really quick. I ordered it on Tuesday, and it came on Friday, this past Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and show the comparison between the new Jupiter and my previous Saturn and the Mars, which I also have. So let's go ahead and take a look at this very huge, awesome new 3D printer. All right, so the first thing I want to show is this massive box that this came in. Now, there was actually even a bigger box that covered this and had big straps, these really big, tough straps over top of it, going in crisscrossing. Poor FedEx guy had a heck of a time getting up here. I had to give him a hand. I'm up on the second floor of my apartment, so he had a heck of a time getting up there. There's the big giant box. Here's all the foam pieces that it came in. Had a top and a bottom, and really nicely packaged. It was nicely secured within these pieces of foam all around it so that nothing was gonna hurt it. And it was undamaged, of course, so. All right, so very large. Let's go ahead and take a look at the printers next to each other on my workstation. All right, so I have this wooden desk that I got from Home Depot that I had my previous printers on. Well, I still have these printers. So I'm gonna have to get something bigger, but for now I just have them set up. You can see already it dwarfs it. It's very large compared to the Saturn and the Mars. So I have the Mars 2 Pro, smallest one. I have the Saturn, of course. It's the original Saturn. And then of course the Jupiter, which is just massive by comparison. And obviously the Jupiter now has a very different design. It doesn't have a big giant clear. That would be a little awkward to try to take one of those off. It's got a door that you open up. You can see the inside. It has, on the side, it has the plug going in, has an Ethernet port, and it has the on-off switch. Here's where the USB goes. It goes on the side. So none of these things are on the back. It has these two big handles, one on either side, which I did have to use to get it up on top of this desk. It was very heavy. What I ended up doing is, when I took out the build plate and the resin tray, slightly less awkward, a little bit easier, but it was still pretty hefty. I had to really struggle to get that up there. If you're gonna get one of these, if you have another person to help you out, that would be better. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting yet another desk. I can move all this stuff out of the way. I just have some little previous compartments I had in my Mandalorian giant Hasbro spaceship over here and some other things. I want to kind of get that out of the way and maybe do like a cleaning station over there, or on the other side of it, we'll see. Another desk for a cleaning station. That way I can have these all on just here, because a part of this, half of this was my cleaning station before with the other ones, which is a lot easier to do. So, okay. So if you turn it on, a couple of things I want to show. First of all, really cool built-in LED lights. And you can hear it's really quiet. Really, really quiet. And this is in my spare bedroom, which I don't have a bed or anything in. It's just my room for this kind of stuff. So, very nicely done. You have two very solid rails in the back. It's a double rail, a very large threaded tube that goes down the middle that moves it. The build plate is massively designed, as you can see, and connected onto this. I haven't leveled it yet. The leveling is a little bit different on this. From what I've seen from the instructions, you remove the reservoir, you lower it down like you do on the other ones, and then you you loosen up, you have these things here which press down on the plate. So this is part of the plate with these two handles and these four parts here. This and these pieces and all of this are a part connected onto the machine. And then this is another part that you tighten. So what you do is you have this loosened somewhat, just kind of almost snug down. But I guess you would loosen these up. And then once it's flat, you tighten these down. And they're kind of spring activated. Yeah, they have springs on them. So that you put some tension down onto it with those. And they even tell you, like, you're supposed to do them diagonally. You start with one, go to the other, then the opposite, then the opposite. And there's a couple of different steps. Once those are all tightened, and then you tighten these down, then you tighten this down. And at that point, then you test to see if the paper is loose enough. If it isn't, you move it up like 1/10 of a millimeter, or 1/100, something like that. Or take it down, or whichever, until you get it right where it's supposed to be. You zero it out, and then you can lift the whole thing up, and it's centered. So a little more complex, but obviously a very giant, large machine. Of course, you have your reservoir inside. I don't have it in yet. Here are the two threaded nuts that go down through and into it. And I'll be taking these out and taking a look at them as well separately. But that's the overall machine. You have the display. So it is considerably larger than the other two. So here's the display on the Saturn, or the Jupiter. Here's the display on the Saturn, and here's the display on the Mars. So I mean, it's not really something you see much on. It just has the similar controls, but you have your tools, you have your system, you have your print, that sort of thing. Okay, that's a Jupiter 6K. All right, so very, very large, very nicely sturdy, very sturdy, nicely made. It's all metal, of course. And these are nice, these are easy to access on the side. You don't have to worry about getting in the back of it. So you could put this pretty close to the back. I don't even believe, looks like here's where the fan vents are on the side. I think there's another one on the other side. Yes, there's some on the other side as well. I don't believe the back has any vents on it. No. So you could even pretty much snug this up to the wall or even closer and still have access to everything, which is nice. All right. Here is the toolbox that comes with it, as opposed to the cardboard box you get with the other ones. It's a nice little container. It's pretty much the same kind of things that you get in the other ones. Obviously, some of them are just larger as far as the FEP film. There's 2 FEP film spares that come with it. Here's your instructions. That didn't come with it. It's just a bottle of resin that I've got. And of course, then you have your door, which is magnetically held shut. Anxious to see how well that seals up when it has resin in it, so you don't have any fumes escaping or anything. It does come with a filter. I don't have it with me right now. I'll have to go get it, but it actually has that little plug that it goes into. I think it's almost like a USB port. It's interesting looking, but I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it's a filter. It's supposed to purify inside. So it comes with one of those, and obviously you can buy those and they're separate. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the comparison of the build plate and the reservoir to the other 2 machines. All right, so here are the covers off of the Mars and the Saturn. I have some resin in the vat right now, so I'm not going to remove those, but I have cleaned off the build plate, so I'll show those compared together separately at the end of the video. but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of this just as it's attached. So here is the sizable and very hefty build plate for the Jupiter. Very large. And there's that tightener. So once you're done leveling it, you would just use that. You would slide it in, and it has two little bars that it goes up to with these two notches. Those little indentations line up with those spring-loaded parts that I showed you, and then you just tighten this down on top, and that's what secures it. That's how you remove it. So here's the comparison. So you can see there's the Saturn. There's the Mars. Considerably bigger. It's literally 3 times the size of the Mars. In volume, it's probably at least twice, if not a little bit more, the volume of the Saturn. Quite amazingly large by comparison to the two. All right. And this is going to be a challenge too, because what I'm used to working with for cleaning off the plates are using disposable items like a foam rectangular dinner plate kind of thing, paper towels, that sort of thing. This is way too big. I'm gonna have to come up with a more permanent version that I can use in order to be able to clean off the resin from it and remove the parts without making a mess. So I'll have to play with that as well and adjust it to the very large size of the newest build plate that I'm going to be working with. So, right. And here is the resin vat for the Jupiter. Also very large and hefty. 2 nice size thick aluminum bars to lift it from. In the back there, that little notch there are caps included that you can attach, screw right onto the top of a resin bottle, invert the resin bottle in a spring loaded, and it will actually keep the reservoir filled, and it will just release what you need. There's the max mark of how far you would fill it. Of course, the clear FEP film, I just have the sheet over it still. I haven't removed the protective film on the bottom yet either. Very, very large. It is aluminum, so it is, you know, I can hold it with one hand, as you can see. But again, I want to show you the comparison. So there's the Jupiter, there's the Saturn. You can see how much more massive it is. And of course, the Mars, not even close. So again, one of the things with this is it's going to take a lot more resin to fill it, to keep it, you know, up to, it won't use more resin, it'll use the same amount of resin on printing the parts that I would use on these other two, you know, unless I'm building, of course, you know, printing something much larger, but then you have the reservoir, which is really good. So you don't run out of resin in the middle of the print if you happen to use it or run out of it. So, but the beauty of this is that not only can I print bigger things, which I don't do as much, but sometimes I do, but I can print a lot of things. So on this one, I could easily print a regular size figure and do all the parts at once. That was definitely one of the benefits of the Saturn. The Mars, I had to do several more prints, maybe 3 or 4 prints to say 2 prints or less on the Saturn, because I could fit more pieces on that build plate. So if I'm just doing a normal, you know, 10-inch figure that has 6 parts or 7 parts, something like that, far easier to print it on the bigger ones, and I could do the entire thing on the Jupiter. And I could print larger if I wanted to as well, which is also nice. So it gives me a lot more freedom and leeway to print not only faster printing of smaller figures or smaller things, but larger prints and larger parts that just literally will not fit on these other two. So really, really cool. All right, and here's the inside. Here is the display with the resin vat out of it. See how large that is. Here's the filter that it comes with, and it does have a USB at the bottom. So I guess it just powers a little fan, and there's charcoal inside of it, and it just works to vent it out. Let me put that in there. There you go. Yeah. It lights up. Also not making any noise, but not sure how that works, but it's nice. It's a nice little feature. And I'm sure that that's actually obviously replaceable for you to get other ones. Just make sure that it goes off when you turn it off. Yes, okay. So it's powered by the machine. You turn the machine on, or if you unplugged it, obviously it does that. Very sturdy design. Check this out with these little flywheels down here. Threaded part. Really, really sturdy support. And definitely with the much larger enclosure, you can get a much greater height out of this as far as prints are concerned. Let me check that out and see what those dimensions are. All right, so here are the build dimensions, build volume. Has it in centimeters, but also in inches. So it's 10.94 inches, so nearly 11 inches long by 6.14 inches wide by 11.81, so slightly less than a foot. I thought it was over a foot, but it's about a foot. Very, very large. Definitely much bigger than the other two. So it gives you a lot of room to work on that. All right, here's the resin vat. So there's the bottom of it. So changing the FPP film is going to be similar as the other ones, removing all these little Allen bolts, taking that centerpiece out, replacing it. And then there's inner ones, I'm sure, as well. And again, I haven't taken the plastic off of this yet, or the cover of the film, to protect it until I'm ready to start using it. So very, very large. Very, very massive. And then you can see the two holes. There's where the threaded bolts go into it to hold it down into there. And it has a little bit of a recessed area. Now, it has these rounded holes, but it doesn't really have anything rounded. Slightly. Maybe these would fit. Oh, you know what? Maybe when I peel this off, that'll fit in there. Probably so. Okay. Yeah, it's just slightly longer bolt head on the corners. That's the way the Saturn is as well. So it'll probably be pretty easy to line it up and make sure that it's inside of this little slate recess and down inside of those when you put it in. And like the other vats that I've had, it has the one little corner which has the little spout, so when you're dumping the resin out of it, you can, you know, not have it flowing all over the edges of it. And of course that part over there. And also very sturdy aluminum construction. All right. So overall, really impressive machine for sure. I don't plan on doing a print just yet on this. I still have to level the print bed, get everything ready for it. I have the one large bottle of resin, but I got to get at least another one, I think, just to even fill the vat reasonably to start using it. Plus, I still want to get another table to get this all set up and ready to go with the 3 printers that are there. So, all right. All right, and here's the best comparison to show the most important part of these printers, and that is the build plate, because the build plate determines how big of a piece you can build versus, you know, the machine could be really big but have a small build plate. It wouldn't make any difference. So, of course, here's the Mars Pro 2, obviously the smallest. Then you have the Saturn, which is much bigger. And the thing I've noticed about a lot of these is it's not, if you just look at it like this, it's not twice as long, but if you turn it this way, you know, then you can understand the idea that you're getting about twice the area if you're comparing it like this. Considerably larger, as you can see. So, you know, there is no necessarily up and down per se on these build plates. You don't have to position the figure in any certain way. So considerably larger volume when you're looking at the X and Y axes, and also the Z axes, which doesn't have anything to do with the build plate, but has to do with the machine and the internal size. So the Z axis is how tall you can print something. And on each of these, it gets bigger as well. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at the comparison between these two and the new Jupiter. Good Lord. So right off the bat, you can see how much it dwarfs the other two. Incredibly so. So if you were to take this one, obviously you've got at least easily 3 times the volume, easily, with room to spare, of the Mars. Considerably larger. With the Saturn, same situation. So it's not twice as long, but if you take it this way, it's not as wide, but it's considerably, you can see on this end of it, it's more than twice when you're looking at that. So a considerably larger build area. Much, much bigger. And the height is also very large. It's well over a foot tall. So it gives you a lot more room to work with. So again, when you're thinking of a 3D printer, you're thinking of a cube. You know, the X axis, the Y axis, and the Z axis is up. It's a big cube. And that whole area within that is where you build from. And when you're working in the software, that's what it shows you. It shows you an area like that. So you don't want to go outside of that, of course, but you definitely have a considerably larger amount of space to work with on the brand new Jupiter. So just incredible. All right, so really happy with the Jupiter. I haven't printed anything yet, as I said, but I will here sometime in the near future. And I'm really happy to have something larger that can accommodate not only bigger pieces or bigger parts that I want to make, but also I can print a lot more pieces in a quicker time frame and turn that around really quickly. So, all right, so really happy with the Jupiter. And once I get printing some things in the future, obviously I'll be showing videos of the things that I make, and then I can talk more about how it works. So, all right, thank you to all my new subscribers. Stay tuned. I will be uploading some more videos here as well very shortly. Thanks a lot.